Good morning and welcome to the New Media Show. My name is Todd Cochran. I want to welcome my co-host, Mr. Rob Greenlee. Good morning, Rob. How are you?
Doing terrific, Todd. It's another New Media Show day. If it's Saturday, it must be the New Media Show.
It is.
My tagline.
I'll be honest, it was very painful to climb out of bed this morning. It was rough.
Right.
And I said, "Oh, you got to be kidding me." 4:45 on a Saturday. Oh my gosh. Anyway,
right.
This is a price I pay to bring this show. Of course, you too, getting up early and partaking of your Saturday.
Well, this is kind of late for me on my normal schedule because of I kind of do a lot of conference calls and stuff really early in the morning all week long. This is actually sleeping in for me, Todd.
Yeah, my call it crazy. My prime time meeting hour is 5 a.m. here in Hawaii.
Right. Yeah, it's like 7 for me, 7 to 8.
Yeah, so it's equivalent same time because you're 2 hours ahead of me right now. So, actually, you're 3. And whenever you guys do your silly clock change again, then I'll get an extra hour of sleep. But
it's not so silly at that point, though.
Right. So a big, at least in news-wise, big week in podcasting.
Right. Now a lot of stuff happening.
Yeah.
I think it's just the tip of the iceberg. I think. I think there's a lot more coming. To my honest opinion, I think this is. I think that the industry is getting more serious now. I think there's players are starting to really think much larger in their thinking and see it in the changes that have happened just this past week.
When someone brings $55 million to the table for a content company, I'm like, yeah.
We've been saying for a long time we're in a content era, and that's exactly that's a reflection of that.
There's winners and losers in that content era, though.
Well, that is true, and that was also reflected in the news this week. Yes, and actually, which is a little bit baffling, actually, when you think about what happened there.
Yeah, and actually, I want to start with that. I was so Panoply announced that they are getting out of the content business and they're going to be a tech company, and I was just like,
a platform company, like what we're doing.
Right. I'm thinking, does that mean I'm competing with them now or what? And
I think it does.
Yeah. So, but it was just it's an odd move. So are they going to make enough money on, how many people have they got over there?
I heard that it was, I don't know, like 20 some people or something. It wasn't.
Oh, wasn't that big then?
Well, I don't think that they were that big to begin with on the content side. Now, granted, there's 2 parts to the company over there. There's Slate,
right,
and then there's the Panoply side. So I don't know how those 2 worlds. I thought I read that they had split those 2 companies up. So what they did here with Panoply wasn't going to impact Slate, but because Slate's been a long-running success.
Yeah. But if they're going to lay off their sales team, how are they going to monetize the Megaphone ad injection portion of the platform? That, to me, is the baffling part. Okay, so you're going to lay off your you're not. You're going to lay off your content team. That's what they're laying off, is the content team. So it must be the sales side is still good.
Right.
It'd have to be, right?
So the only other thing I could think of would be this is a repositioning of the company for an acquisition of some sort. I don't know.
Someone repositioning for, someone do a tech acquisition. So, okay.
Right. So if another company already has those parts, then why would they need them anymore?
Right.
So I don't know. That's pure speculation at this point.
But that's actually I'm thinking about this because I was pondering it yesterday quite a little bit. I'm like, what's the move? And I didn't really even think about them being acquired. So Yeah, I guess that makes sense. So if someone comes in, and I know that there's a couple of companies that need a. Oh, yeah. So I.
The light bulb went off. Yes, I can tell.
So I know there's a couple of companies that need injection that don't have their own.
Right.
Oh, so yeah, very interesting. I should have sent someone else a message this weekend. Or this week. Did you?
No, I didn't. But I just, I've got enough to handle right now.
Right. Yeah. So that's curious. So I guess we'll have to keep our eyes peeled on what's going to happen with the folks over at Panoply. So, and then the acquisition by iHeartRadio, and I'm still just call me a bit of a doubter. I just don't. Does anyone actually use that app?
Which app?
The iHeart app.
Oh, the iHeart app. I would imagine that there would be quite a few people. Sure.
Yeah. To me, when I think of iHeartRadio, and I know that they've got a number of shows over there, a limited number of podcast shows over there. I just wonder if they made this supposedly $55 million purchase of How Stuff Works. So, well, it's definitely content. So, so they're maybe, they finally figured out radio's dying. They have to do something. But this would be by far the biggest radio check written.
Right. Yeah. I mean, these guys, I know that iHeartMedia is really serious about podcasting. I mean, they're like right there next to Scripps as far as commitment to the medium. And they want to be the biggest. They're the biggest on the radio side. They want to be the biggest on the podcasting side.
Well, they definitely wrote a big check. Scripps didn't write that big of a check.
Well, those numbers weren't really disclosed
as
much as this one was. But yeah, I mean, I think this is just the beginning of what we're going to see out of iHeart. So, and it's...
Well, they're not talking to me, for the record.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But anyway, they actually, I think, want to get into more storytelling content. The How Stuff Works folks have had a long-standing reputation in the podcasting business, and if you think back to if you're new to podcasting, I don't know that you really know the history of How Stuff Works, but they were owned for a period of time by Discovery Media as well. So they got acquired in the same time frame as Revision 3, which was another early video podcasting kind of network that got acquired by Discovery, which is the Discovery Channel on the TV side. Mm-hmm. They were into podcasting pretty aggressively, and they got How Stuff Works too, and they worked with How Stuff Works to create video content for the Discovery Channel for many years, and then Discovery decided to spin off How Stuff Works and sold it basically to another company. And so now we've seen, this company, this How Stuff Works company has kind of been bouncing around various other parent companies for a while now. So, but they've been around since the early days of the podcasting medium and have built significant audiences for the programs that they produce for a very long time.
So this is the comment I got back from someone when I asked them, what do you think about specifically the Panoply deal? And they said, content is expensive with low margins. Skimming fees off of tech is efficient.
Well, I guess we picked the right business model, Todd.
But it costs nothing to run a company, Rob. So
yeah, totally right. We're just going to give everything away, right? Yeah.
But it's been and I just look at my inbox of the emails I'm getting now are, I guess, how should we say it? It's a different Well, we're starting to see Fortune 500 companies come in and they're looking to do podcasting. So, it's true Fortune, well, maybe even Fortune 50s. And so up to this point, that depends on we've had a number of those come into the space, but more and more, that's what I'm seeing coming in, looking for quotes and looking for pricing. And,
right.
We just had a client come in and they're doing, I was shocked. They're doing 50 internal private podcasts,
right.
and 50, and they wanted stats. They don't need nothing else. They've already got their in-house publishing system. They've got, and I said, well, why do you need stats if you're not public facing? He says, well, we want to make sure that we know that
watching them.
Yeah, that people are watching them. He says, I know that in this mailing list I'll have 500, in this mailing list I have 800, and he says if I get close to those numbers on downloads or then I'll be happy. And so we talked a little bit about their internal strategy and how they were presenting the content and how they were making it available, and they had it dialed in. So it's. So we got them set up, and they'll be rock and rolling next week. But they're just doing stats to see their people, and they got me to thinking there's probably a little more efficient way we can do this for them. But
well, and it's probably more like training audios and things like that. Is that what it is?
Yep, Salesforce type stuff.
Right.
Sure.
So a lot of those make listening to that content or viewing content like that a requirement.
Right.
As part of people's jobs. I know I had to go through a lot of that when I worked at Microsoft. There was always videos going out to
the employees. The annual training or quarterly training.
It's all training around, all sorts of priorities for the company, right? That like harassment training.
Right.
And all this, security training and
but if you
all these kinds of things.
But if you think about it, though, there's been, this is nothing new. Why would you deliver via podcast? Because there's companies out there that vocalize or focus on in-house training where you log in. It basically, it guarantees, and you get done, you get a certificate and, and basically proof that you've completed the training and answered the questions or whatever it is.
Right.
So for them to do it via podcast, and it's what it is they got a remote workforce, Salesforce.
Right.
So I thought, okay, this is new, but it's really kind of maybe what it is maybe they're looking to get rid of maybe some of those expensive legacy systems that,
or it could just be more conversational tips and tricks and trainings from the standpoint of how to be a better salesperson, how to close deals more efficiently. It just could be like leaders in the company that are creating these content to help boost the knowledge base of their employee base. So there's a lot of uses that can be put to play with this stuff, especially behind a firewall.
That's true.
But I'm also seeing RFPs come in from, like you said, these big Fortune 500 companies. These RFPs are like 10-page forms and all this stuff, and you ask them what they want to do, and I want to create 2 podcasts. Right. Yeah. But they create this massive, data gathering process.
And I had this, and it was basically this company. Yeah, exactly. Maybe it's the same. Maybe that RP is from the same company. We just,
Yeah, it probably is
because they're asking about
worth it.
They're asking about financial viability, and do you have this type of a statement and this and that? And I'm like, and one of the other team members, I said, find out what is this like for do they need like for 50 shows or for one? What is the deal here? And it comes back and it's for 2 shows.
That's right. I was like, going, boy.
2 shows, and you're going to make my lawyer do like 4 hours worth of work?
Right. And it's only an RFP.
Right. And it's got all this extra viability of company. They want a P&L statement. They want,
right.
I'm like, I'm like, no,
Yeah, right.
no, it's
It
got to be the
doesn't need
same
that.
company. I've never seen anything like it. I actually asked, I said, is this a fishing expedition? Are they just fishing for corporate info?
Right.
You know,
Right.
and you know, I went looking at their company, and I'm like, politely say no, thank you. So you don't have to worry about my RFP.
Right. I'm not that stressed out about it, actually.
2 shows, and
Right.
you're gonna make me 5 hours of lawyer work. You know,
Right.
'Cause-
Or my work.
yeah. Well, Barry calls me, says, "Did you see what they want?"
Yeah, I know.
And I'm like, "No, what do they want?" And he explains to me her phone. I'm like, "Oh," and so I went back to the team members that find out what, if this is a 50 shows, it's going to be a big production. They're opening a production house. Yeah, we'll give them what they want.
Right. But for 2 shows,
It's the same.
I was
company.
like, and I thought it was like also going to be behind like their firewall, behind like a VPN or something like that. All these podcasts are going to be private, just like the other company you were talking about. Is what I thought it was going to be, and then they tell me because I asked them, so is these all going to be private internal shows? And they go, no, we're looking to do external shows, and we're only going to do 2.
Right. So it makes me laugh when that type of stuff comes in. But then again, you get the guy that calls you, and he's got, I've got 20 shows. I need to move. My hosting provider shut me down, and I'm like, yeah, we can get you set up. And literally 30 minutes later, we got his media moving.
Right. That's how fast it can happen.
I said, let me just go in here and flip the switch for your shows. We'll get the billing caught up on Tuesday or whatever. We'll move you over.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not that hard.
Yeah.
Let's not make this any harder than it is.
Yeah, and that is true. RFPs for a $40 hosting account. It's put it on someone's credit card. Come on, let's go.
Right. Yeah. I mean, just the time that it takes someone on their side just to review all the RFPs is just a waste of time.
And you're saving $3.
Right.
And you're gonna try to vet somebody.
Right.
But so it's kind of funny how that works.
What are you going to do? Right.
If you want their business, some of them are big names. I go, that'd be a nice client to have. And you're thinking, they're going to spend, they're spending $100 a month with me.
But is there any upside to it? That's the other question.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's also too the advertising deals. And just so you guys know, podcasters, just please know this. If a company calls me and we have a minimum spend level per month, and I'll ask them, I said, okay, what's your goal? What's your budget? And I said, well, it's X number of dollars for 90 days. I'm like, well, that's really what we need budget per month for 90 days.
Right.
And I just politely at this point say, let me give you some names of some shows that I know, and why don't you reach out to them yourself? Because I'm not doing and what I found over the years that if let's say a company comes in and they're going to spend, let's just use a number, $3,000 for a month, and a company comes in and they're going to spend $30,000 for a month.
All right.
The $30,000 client, I get the RFPs together, get the shows picked, send them over, they approve them, we turn it on, we go. The $3,000 client, I spend 10 hours on the phone explaining exactly how we're going to do it, how we're going to execute, what he needs to provide us.
Right.
And then every 2 days, they're calling me, checking on downloads, complaining about sales or whatever it may be.
Right.
So there is a niche out there. If someone wants to handle those clients that want to spend those small amounts of money on a spend across 8, 9, 10 shows, there's work out there. But for me,
there's work. It's the key.
Yeah, there's work.
That's the key word to that.
It's work. So, I've turned away deals that don't meet the minimum spend just because I know where the pain point's going to be. I had one come in the other day. The guy had $5,000 for 90 days. And I'm like, that ain't going to work. It's not gonna, you can't do it. And first of all, I would probably not, it's a disservice to, sometimes you have to, I've warned them. I'm like, this may or may not work in podcast advertising.
Right.
So, I don't know, do you see the same thing, Rob, with those small spends?
Yeah, we try and shy away from the small spends too. We try and go after those larger deals, and those are the ones that we put forth the effort on.
Yeah.
So, I mean, at this point, that's the only way you can really kind of really justify having people working on it.
Yeah.
So that's the trade-off, and that's one of the other reasons why we have the dynamic ad stuff is to fill in that gap, right, to some degree, and that's kind of like, we're trying to make it available to all levels of podcasters if it's possible, and trying to drive those campaigns down to smaller shows if we can, kind of like what you've been doing over the years.
Yeah.
So, that's the direction that the industry is going. It's just, how do we execute on it now is really where the issue comes into.
And believe it or not, where my issue is right now, and it's driving me crazy, is podcasters, you don't check their email.
Right. Well, it's the response times.
Response times. So I had a really huge buy come in, and I sent 136 podcasters got invited to the campaign. And almost immediately, maybe within 24 hours, I got response from like 30. Say, yep. Or a couple that said, no, we're not interested. And got them right. And then it was the other 100 that I'm on the phone calling. Hey, I sent you an email 2 days ago.
Right.
I didn't see it. Can you go look? Oh, yeah, there it is. Oh, yeah, cool. Yeah, look, I'll get back to you. I'm like, no, I need an answer today.
Right.
And I spend 5 hours on the phone calling podcasters that are not checking their effing email.
Right.
And Rob, these weren't small shows. Not small.
No.
These were shows that would have, $2,000-$3,000 a month earned on this campaign.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's some dollars.
That's some dollars, and they're not checking their email.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's a problem that you've had for many, many, many years, going back to the very early days.
It hasn't changed.
Right. So I think we've talked about this one for like every couple of years.
Yeah. So how do we fix that? How and so now what I'm doing is I'm going to be hitting it in my newsletter. I'm going to be hitting it in. I'm going to hit them 5 different ways.
I guess you have to send them text messages. I guess.
Oh, good idea.
There you go.
It's insane. It's insane.
So did you see the announcement that got put out by Scripps about Stitcher?
Yeah, they're rebranding.
Yeah, well, I don't know how much they're rebranding, other than they're rejuggling who's a parent and who's a child. Stitcher is going to be the parent company of Midroll and the.
Oh, I don't think I read that.
Earwolf. Yeah.
So they're going to be the parent company, Stitcher.
Of Midroll and the Earwolf network. So you think about that. So you got ad sales and you got a content network that are now under Stitcher, which is a technology play, right? It's an app, essentially. So Stitcher is the one that kind of is the company that is owned by Scripps now.
Right.
So they basically made Midroll and the content network kind of like a division of Stitcher.
Okay, so, I guess from a stack standpoint, it makes sense to me.
It does actually make sense. It's just, I think what it does is it symbolizes a change in how Scripps is looking at this.
Meaning they think the tech is actually starting to become more valuable?
Right. And there's a common thread here. You think about what Panoply just did.
Right.
That was a play to say tech is more important. as far as in the business.
So VCs are listening out there, investors. I've got a tech package and I've got lots of content. They don't check their email, but
Well, it's It's the combination, and this goes back to the very early days when I, worked for Podcast One. It's the combination of tech and content and ad sales together.
Yeah,
that's a rare play. You don't see that often. And you look at even these guys, and Stitcher is a listening app,
right?
But they're still hosting on other platforms, right? So they don't have a full technology stack even today.
That's true.
And if you look at it, very few of these companies have a complete tech stack in combination with a tech, with ad sales.
So let's just say it then. So let's just say it then. Who's going to buy Megaphone?
It could be a big
Scripps?
big radio group.
Scripps going to buy it? That's who I'd bet.
I probably wouldn't have speculated that on the show, but yeah, it's possible.
Why not? It's not our money.
Right.
Hey, hey, Rob, you listening?
So you start putting these puzzle pieces together, and they start to make a little bit of sense. Stitcher is a listening app, right? It's got premium content in it. It's got all this stuff. So you think about what's the missing piece with Stitcher, and that's a hosting and distribution platform is what's missing. Dynamic ad insertion, all that stuff is something that they still need.
Yeah.
So who knows, right?
Remarkably,
you may be right.
Remarkably, I have all that stuff ready. So.
So do we. So. Yeah, and more actually, but yeah, it's a little bit of a sign.
I'm sorry, folks. You guys are all just like grimacing, like these guys are just like pitching to be bought on the show.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So I was, and there's some things that are going on in the industry right now that I think maybe indicative of some of these changes from a business perspective. You start thinking about how things are going, how the landscape is going to change once everybody gets certified IAB, right?
So here's a concern I have. And very few people are worried about the independents.
Very few are worried about them? Do we need to be worried about them?
Well, these are big show, big content name deal plays.
Right.
They've done nothing, and damn, I shouldn't even talk about this. They're not focusing at all. No one cares about the other 90%.
Well, we do, Todd.
We do. Yeah, we do.
These guys are playing a different game than we're playing.
That's right. And
that's okay.
Yeah.
Whatever. Right.
Mm-hmm. And by the way, first cup of coffee in about 2 months.
Did you go out and get that at a Starbucks, or is that?
No, this is one of those. Cup? This is one of these cups they sell. These are, for those of you that are looking for an actual,
it's hard plastic.
It's hard plastic. These cups, I've had these for like 5 years. They're getting a little rugged around the edge.
Right.
Best coffee cup going. And no, we're not endorsed by Starbucks. And I don't even have Starbucks coffee in here. I have King Rose something. It's a pod.
Maybe you should approach Starbucks to sponsor the show, Todd, because we do it so early.
I know.
Everybody that listens to this show needs to have a cup of coffee just to stay awake.
That's a fact, or a Red Bull in the morning. Now, I've always said Red Bull would be a good, because I shouldn't say this out loud. I quit drinking Red Bull for 2 or 3 years.
Right.
I can't help myself. I'm back to drinking it. I'm drinking the sugar-free, though. Yeah, I'm drinking the sugar-free. But I don't know. Nothing really stacks up. I don't like those big monster ones. That's just too much volume. But a little 6 or 8 ounce sugar-free Red Bull, good to go.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll see. It's fun to watch everything that's going on, and but definitely some people are going to be looking for some jobs. Content. What happens to all those shows now? They were just at an upfront. Panoply was announcing their new show, and now they make this like boom. They drop this turd. So it has to be something to do with an acquisition. I know how much money they spent to go to that upfront.
Right.
They wouldn't just abandon that investment.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's just a matter of thinking about the pieces of the puzzle, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what all of these companies, these larger companies, that's what they think about is what pieces are missing. How can they shore up their business models? I mean, in a lot of ways, all this activity from this past week is somewhat related to each other as far as in overall trends of the industry. But I did raise the topic, and we didn't expand on it because we got caught up in the Starbucks thing. But was what I believe is driving these changes in thinking, and that's the IAB certification of podcast metrics. I don't know about you, Todd, but I see on a regular basis, I see a lot of pain happening right now between those that are claiming to be IAB compliant and those that really are, or maybe they're still counting differently than, especially around the 24-hour window. There's a couple different ways that it can be implemented. And so we're still going to see some differences. Could be significant differences between platforms and how they're counting. And if a platform, I think some of the platforms are still competing based on, well, we can get you more numbers than the other guy, right?
Yeah, and if you're doing a rolling 24, the delta between a rolling 24 and a fixed 24 is very small. So
right.
It doesn't...
But it's different, right?
No,
people,
barely.
Barely.
My name. That's a little.
So there must be other factors that are going into this.
And we found some factors. Sure, we found some factors too. And we've been doing this this audit. As a matter of fact, I think we'll be done next week from everything. It's been a process, 2 months. A lot of stuff that they asked some pretty deep questions. We had to go in and really dig in, and so and
all these platforms are going to have to go through that, right?
Right, and I think what's going to end up happening is some things we have discovered during the process is going to require the IB to go back and look at this a third time. There's some stuff. There's a few things that were not absolutely fully defined, fully flushed out, that need flushing and flushing out. We need to close the loop on because there's a little air gap there, and because we're like, okay, here's A and B, which do you want? So what's going to end up happening, folks, is that all these certifications are going to come with disclosures. So there's going to be disclosures to, here's the certification for this, here's a certification for that, but here is a disclosure to go along with it.
Right.
And there's not going to be this, no one is going to end up with a pure, yes, I'm certified with ABC and no disclosures. There's going to be disclosures for every company. It's going to have to give disclosures. Now, does that mean the end number is different? We hope not. But what it really is going to say is, this is why there's a deviation, or this is why there is process different, or take this into account, that type of a disclosure. So it's good. It's going to be good for the space.
Right.
It really, really is.
I mean, are we still going to come out of this process with differences between platforms? And
numbers wise?
Yeah.
That is yet to be told. And that's what we're doing now, is we're in the process where they said, okay, well, they didn't tell us. They did a test against specific episodes on specific shows on specific networks. And they said, okay, give me the log files for that 24 hours.
Right.
And then they're going to go back, they've went back and they're digging through that data And then they're going to come into our system and they're going to say, okay, let's load it up and let's see what we got and what you got using all the rules.
Right.
And so that is the big reveal. That's what we deal with next week, I think. But, it's just, there's lots of little things that can cause a wrench in the monkey works. As an example, CDNs making changes to log files without notification of the hosting provider. They don't, if you have the customer, if they make a change to the format of a log file and you don't catch it,
right,
you can end up with some problems. So there are self-auditing criteria now that we've implemented just because they said, well, what happens if your CDN changes this? And we're like, well, they won't. But they said, well, what if they do?
Right.
And we're like, well, they're not going to. Well, it doesn't matter that they're not going to. What if they do?
right. Because they just might.
Or they just might. And we're like, oh, okay. And then they're like, show me your audit routine.
Right.
Okay, let me build that. Really. And that's what it literally came to, because there was some stuff that we would have just arbitrarily said they're never going to change that. But they can.
Todd, in one other thing that I heard pop up is that some of the hosting platforms are claiming that they can more accurately parse large group IP calls on podcasts, so they can sort it inside of, so they can identify group IP differences. And I know, but some are claiming that, and it makes me wonder if that's why we're going to continue to see, because I don't know if the IAB spec, and I didn't look at this, covers that.
It covers multiple of the IP. It has rules for you have to whitelist group IPs. And so they say that, Rob, when it comes to certification, prove it. Right.
And because this particular platform that is making this claim has huge difference, a lot higher numbers than the numbers that
they're going to have
compared against Spreaker's platform.
They're going to have to prove. They're going to have to prove that they can detect those group IPs.
Right.
First of all, I call beep beep right off the bat, because we've looked at data, whereas this is not hard. Anyone that can get a hold of their hosting log files, this is simple. I'm just, here's what I would like you to do. Pick an IP, IP for, let's say, a week. Just take a week's worth of data. Pick any IP that downloaded a specific episode, and then look for that IP again later in the log files.
Right.
Now, you have to be careful, because you're going to have to do some sorting, but you're going to have to group out if you're getting the byte serving. If they've served it by chunks, you're going to have 4, 5, 6 different log entries there, and you're going to have some codes that are going to tell you whether or not that file completely delivered or not. But you take that IP for a specific episode, and then you search over a week. Just take a week and look at how many times you saw that IP for that episode. And do that for 1,000.
Mm-hmm.
And tell me, and then come back. I'm just telling everybody, just do this on your own, and then come back and tell me how many times you saw that IP a second time. Same IP.
Right. For that episode. Right.
And it's grouping stuff. Kiss my butt. It's
that shouldn't be hard to see in the data.
Not hard. This is not rocket scientist. It's 111.111.111. Whatever the octal is, and you search. It's a simple text search in 5, 6, 7 days of log files.
Right.
It's not hard. This is not rocket science. I'm not talking about 24 hours. I'm talking about do a week.
So, I mean, Todd, what's the most likely explanation for a network that claims to be IAB compliant? This is pre-certification compared to another IAB compliant pre-certification platform. Why there's a 40% difference in downloads?
Shouldn't be.
That's my...
Shouldn't be.
Right.
2-3%.
Right.
Typically, if I look at my numbers, I look at Libsyn's numbers, we've typically been 2-3% apart.
And this other platform that's claiming all over the place that they're IAB, they're a well-known platform, is 40% higher than Spreaker's.
Well,
on the same activity.
I'm just gonna processing. There's no substitute.
Right.
Well, I'm gonna be careful here because
I know there's
a
subject.
There's a discussion going on right now again about. Okay, I told you about those ABC certifications and the disclaimers.
Right.
You're gonna want to pay attention to the disclaimers.
Right. Because that's going to be where the differences live.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
Well, not the differences. There might even be offset requirements for certain types of data.
Okay.
If you're getting your stats this specific way, this is the offset. You have to apply to that number to be right.
Right.
Could be.
So when you say offsets, that would be more of a
Your
an adjustment.
Adjustment. Mm-hmm.
Based on, but why would you need to have some sort of an adjustment?
I can't go into that currently, Rob. I'll get shot. So I'll just leave it at that. We will have to have some. It all depends on how the audit turns out. Again, there are some concerns of some of the stuff. We're going to probably have to go back to the IAB in the fall and do another round here.
Right. Shows are deciding where they're moving to. I mean, so you see a lot of shows changing hosts right now, and a certain number of them are changing hosts based on where they can get the highest numbers.
Well, they're in for a rude awakening.
Well, yeah, and it's also, you explain to them that this is what's happening in the industry. You're bouncing from one host to another, looking for the best numbers. But at some point, that strategy is going to come crashing down.
Right.
I would hope, that we can level the playing field here, and everybody starts competing for audience and not competing for the platform that delivers the highest numbers.
Right.
So, which is where we need to be, because right now, it doesn't matter how good your tools are, your publishing tools, your platform is. It's just how's it being counted is all that counts.
I'll be honest. What the IAB has done is this is pretty incredible, and
it is. I think it's great.
It's going to be fantastic once we get through these pain points.
Right, and there's a lot of people taking haircuts right now that, in their numbers to say, well, we know that this is happening, but this is the direction. I'm not going to get caught behind, so am I better off to take the haircut now or take the haircut later? Take
the haircut now, because it's ultimately going to help you. Okay, here's the insanity of this. We've said this 100 times on this show.
Right.
If you're getting, let's say you're there, let's say the advertiser is ecstatic with your performance right now.
Right.
And let's say your numbers are 20% high, and you adjust for 20% down. Yes, you're going to make less money, but the advertiser's going to go, wow!
There's an ROI here.
There's an ROI.
Money.
There's an ROI increase.
Right, and I may even increase my CPM.
All right, let me write you a bigger check.
Right.
It's going to come out in the wash.
Right. It gets caught up in a little bit of ego. It gets caught up a little bit in people just thinking that they're going to lose revenue. They may lose revenue for the first couple months.
And believe me, if I have to make an adjustment on my side and apply a haircut,
right,
I'm going to get beat to hell and back. The podcasters are going to come in, and my poor support team are going to need Prozac.
Right. Yeah. No, and it's not going to get better anytime soon. This is a haircut that people are going to be having to take for the next, I don't know, until everybody gets certified. And my worry is that even the certification isn't going to eliminate this problem. But I guess it gets back to what you were saying earlier about, there is, I think we're getting closer to a level playing field.
Right. And in the end, that's all we've ever wanted was just a level playing field.
Right. And which means that technology is pretty important to the medium right now.
Right. When I have my corporate customers call me or send me an email, I said, hey, we're missing a day's worth of data. I go back and I'm like, yep, something stalled. Let's get it reprocessed. We'll get it caught up. And my corporate customers are looking at this data hour by hour, day by day, and it's critical to their business decisions. Podcasters are, I'm not fanatical about my numbers at this point because I've been in this space so long. I honestly don't care. I do, but I don't. I take a peek once in a while and go, ooh, or, oh, great. Whichever way it's went. Even my personal show at Geek News Central, I've had to look because I've looked at the numbers and we've leveled out a little bit. It's time to, because I wasn't gaining as many new subscribers as I thought I should be. So I'm like, okay, I'm not paying attention enough. It's time to
ramp up the marketing a little bit.
Right.
Yeah. On
my own side. But, that's what happens when you've done a show for 14 years and you're just grinding. You're grinding them out. But so I take a interest from time to time, but there's a lot of new podcasters. If you drop their numbers 200 on a single episode and they've only got 1,000 listeners, that's devastating to them.
It's a big haircut. Yeah.
Right.
Big percentage.
Yeah. So believe me, I'm cognizant of haircuts, and it can be painful for sure. But we've learned a few things going through this audit too. And this audit firm is thorough. They've asked some questions I've never asked before. I didn't think to ask. It really didn't think to ask. And I think Angelo, I'm like, Angelo, that was a pretty good question. He goes, yeah, that was.
Got you guys' attention.
Yeah, I got my attention. I'm like, what does that mean? He says, well, let me work on this a couple of days and let you know.
Right.
And really questions that required him to work a couple of days and doing some alternate analysis. The poor guy.
Yeah.
And it's also at the same time validated a lot of the stuff that we've been doing over the years too. Some validation.
Right.
But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens here. I think it's going to be, I think we're going to be one of the first out of the gate here with some stuff to talk about. And believe me, we're going to be talking about it in the context of here's why, here's the disclaimers, here's what you can say, what you can't, whole 9 yards. But in the end, the certification is the goal for all elements, minus the client side reporting, because no one's getting that.
Right.
But this may help RAD a little bit too. It may help that implementation, but I just see reluctance on app developers to implement RAD.
Yeah, I haven't heard a lot about it here recently, but there's been a lot of other stuff going on too. Right.
So, anyway.
Yeah.
But but auditing of your own stuff is if you're not doing that already, Rob, be prepared.
Right. Well, we're starting down that path of certification here as we speak. So,
now, did you get the questionnaire?
Yeah. Well, I didn't. I'm not having to fill it out. Thank goodness.
Good one, wasn't it?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. The questionnaire, I think, is about 50 questions.
Right.
I think it took us 2 weeks just to answer the 50 questions.
It's kind of like a podcast RFP for 2 podcasts.
Right. Wait to have to sit through. Something just happened. My audio levels changed. Wait till you have to sit through 40 hours of code review.
Oh, that sounds sleep-inducing. Yes.
It's actually quite eye-opening.
I would imagine.
Yeah, it is. Because I never looked at the guts of this thing, but to hear the writer and the person that's doing the review walking through step by step, line by line, my code and going back and forth, and this happens to this because of this, and this is what triggers this, and this subroutine gets run against this, and I'm thinking to myself, my God, that many lines of code happen in the blink of an eye to check one log entry. And it just, to me,
wow.
40 hours of code review that walk through each step that basically, literally, I'm not kidding you, 40 hours of code review that really walk you through the steps of what happens with one single log processing.
Right.
And you're just like, holy cow, that really takes that much.
Right.
So,
hey, so what's your reaction to Spotify putting out a web player? A web player embed that podcasters can put into their website?
Anybody using it yet?
I don't know, but I think it's interesting that they would take that step. So if you think about, a lot of these podcasts that, Spotify's hosting their content, right? So they're bypassing their own hosts.
Right, and they're not getting any stats from that player.
Right.
Well, they're getting the Spotify. I don't even know how that's being reported back in the Spotify stats.
Right.
Oh, Spotify.
Yeah. It's just another way that it's just how big companies like that behave. They're trying to get in the middle of everything.
I think podcasters just, be forewarned that if you do that, if you run their player, then, you may not be getting paid on some of those plays if you're running advertising. Well,
it appears that there is a discrepancy going on between the haves and the have-nots when it comes to Spotify. There's definitely speculation. Some of it is confirmed that there's certain shows or networks that are allowed to pass through Spotify and other ones not.
Well, so I haven't went back to Spotify on this topic. I think I'm gonna have to drop an email this weekend and said, hey, what can we do?
Yeah, I'm gonna do the same, I believe. Yeah. I think it's time to kind of put our foot down on this a little bit.
Well, and I'm not going to put my foot down to the point where they get angry because
no, it's not that. It's more just
encouraging them.
Let them know what is going on here and how it's not fair. Right. And not everything in life has to be fair, but
So just so everybody realizes what's going on, if you don't understand what we say by pass-through, Spotify caches your media.
Right.
They grab the copy off us, and then they do whatever they do to it.
Most podcasts are doing that. It appears that they're making exceptions for big content networks.
And I did get some people give me some feedback that they are hearing ads in between podcast content. So I haven't personally heard it, but I've been told, and if anyone, please, if you hear an ad in between 2 podcast episodes, you're playing back to back, if you hear an ad in between episodes, I really want to hear about that. Tell me who the advertiser was. Tell me the shows if you can. That's good information for us to have internally. Right. But I think if it's true, we shouldn't be surprised that probably is the price of admission over there.
Yeah.
And no one has ever said they wouldn't. But again, I have third party on this, not I haven't heard it myself, largely because I don't use the Spotify app to listen to podcasts.
Right. I did hear from one big network that they're passed through. That was a requirement of the deal.
Oh, so it is confirmed there, Mr.
Well, it may not be for every network that's going into there. I haven't gotten confirmation that every single one of the ones that have been announced are on that, but my assumption is, based on the first one that I heard about, is if you look at it, most of these bigger networks are taking advantage of dynamic in various degrees, right? And dynamic doesn't work. And a lot of these big networks won't do a deal with Spotify for distribution if they're blocked from their monetization.
So Addie says here that James found out that without logging into a Spotify account, listeners only get a preview of the first 30 seconds of the podcast on their embedded player. Oh, wow. Wow. So you have to be logged in. How does that work? How can you be logged? Spotify is a podcast. I mean, it's an app on your mobile phone. So I guess you can log into Spotify on your desktop.
Yeah, you can get a desktop app for Spotify.
So you have to be. That goes against the normal use case of Spotify. Sorry, at least in my opinion, because I think of Spotify on your mobile device. But if you're going to have the web, wow. So if you have the web player on your website, if the listener doesn't log in, they only get 30 seconds. Talk about a horrible experience.
Well, don't get me started on that.
They want listeners to go to Spotify is what they want.
Right, exactly.
And drive them away from podcasts. Please don't do this.
It's sampling.
It's sampling on your own .com. That's where you want them to start. Yes, you want them to go out and get subscribed on whatever app of choice, but you don't want them sampling on your website. My God, that's the last thing you want. You want them to listen to the whole show.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Todd, what will or what can happen will likely happen in this medium.
So that's like me. Let's just use an analogy here. That's like okay, someone's using Blueberry or Spreaker. They put the embed on their websites. The listener comes in, clicks play, and in 30 seconds, a little pop-up comes in and says, log into blueberry.com to finish listening to the show. Can you imagine the outrage? I would be I would be drawn and quartered.
But it's Spotify, Todd.
I would be drawn and quartered if that happened.
It's Spotify, Todd. So.
Okay. This.
I know. Yeah.
This show, by the way, everyone that's listening, this show. Whoa.
What was that?
I'm getting feedback somewhere.
Oh. From me?
Oh, that was weird. We're being tapped. It's good now. Did anybody hear that? That was weird. The phone's not close. It was some sort of. Anyway, it's gone. Now I lost my train of thought here. It's basically drawn and quartered. What else was I going to talk about? But I guess it doesn't. I guess it doesn't matter. But I was going to say. By the way, folks, this show is at newmediashow.com.
Keep.
And yes, you can subscribe to the show at newmediashow.com.
That's right. It's still available on Apple Podcasts.
And the Twitter account is NMS Podcast.
Right.
I couldn't get New Media. Someone else had gotten it. But
hold on to your show, because these big platforms are coming after you. They're going to take your content to limit access and drive that audience to their platform.
Right. Hey, just as a little bit of self-pitching, we've got a new voice at Blueberry, Rob. I've our blogger that we've had on staff on the team for a number of years. She got just absolutely crushed with her business was growing, her podcasting business was growing, and we were looking to make some changes anyway. So it worked out for both of us. We got a new voice on the blog. So I'm excited to see what happens here. The individual's first article went out on Wednesday. So if you notice a change in tone at powerpresspodcast.com, it's because we've got a new writer. So I think I'm kind of excited to see how this, because I don't really dictate the voice. We give them the topic, and I do maybe a little bit of editing, and then the articles go up.
Right.
So, and also, we still got a job announcement out there. I'm looking for someone in Columbus. I'm looking for a developer assistant, but it's more of an assistant type role. Be perfect for someone that's looking to get their foot in the door in podcasting.
Right.
I know you guys are hiring too, right?
Yep. Well, I think we've done most of the hiring so far.
Okay.
They're just all coming on board. I don't know if you wanted to talk a little bit more about the Periscope audio and what you're finding with that.
Well, matter of fact, what Twitter did was made it available so you could go, there's live audio now on Twitter.
Right.
To me, if you're on a mobile phone and you're interacting with it, I don't know if live audio makes as much sense, because Twitter's got NFL football and basketball, and I think that the live video is much more compelling, but they did try to implement, or they have implemented live audio. So to me, I don't know. It doesn't sound as compelling to me. We've done Shoutcast streaming here before, and I still have a Shoutcast. I'm still able to live stream across multiple platforms at the same time. 20 some platforms I can live audio stream to, and they're more aligned with that kind of content and people looking for it. I don't know. I don't know what I think about this whole live audio bit on Twitter, and really I have no way to do it here currently. I can do live video, I think, now on Twitter. I think I've got that pretty much figured out, but would people listen to this show if we're just doing audio only on Twitter?
So you can do live video on Twitter?
I think, well, it's through Periscope. I'm still learning this out. Matter of fact, I've got a producer page turned up on Periscope right now, and it's a standard, for those of you that know what RTMP is, it's a standard RTMP feed, and this is all set up at pscp.tv, which is Periscope TV, but apparently it links back through to your Twitter account. I just need to do some tests. I haven't done it yet. Maybe I'll have time to do it today. But as far as I can tell on the Twitter side, as far as the audio, you have to do it through the Twitter app. You can't, I don't think there's any way to do audio only, unless, if someone's figured this out. Eileen says, when you go live on Twitter Periscope, you can go back and forth between audio and video.
You can go back and forth? What does that mean?
Well, I guess you can just send audio only, but if I'm sending from the TriCaster, I'm sending video and audio. I just need to play with it. I need to get a stream up, run it, and see what happens. But I've never done just an audio only stream out of the TriCaster using RTMP. If you're using RTMP, that is a video audio format. So it's a transport protocol. Real time, what does RTMP stand for?
I think it's a
real time messaging protocol. Yeah.
Right.
So, and that's what most stuff uses to get into YouTube or, into Facebook. It's RTMP stream.
Right.
Eileen says, if you open the Twitter mobile app, you'll see that you can go live, audio or video, the same way you can go live on Periscope. I don't want to do from the phone. To me, that's non-compelling whatsoever. Just to do audio via the phone and be live. You know, it's going to sound like crap. I don't think it's going to be that compelling. Oh, you can only do audio from mobile. So I guess if you're going to use Periscope, it's going to push video. So it's half-baked at this point, I guess. But you don't get an RSS feed, you know.
No, it's just, it feels like it's Twitter pushing into being able to compete directly with Facebook and Facebook too. So if they can get more live content going.
Mm-hmm. But live audio, you know, and I don't think people do a lot of live audio on their app. I don't know. You guys have more experience in that, Rob, than we do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, from what I see, most people listen to live audio on their desktop computers. Mm-hmm. But it's certainly available on mobile, and you can plug it into your car when you're driving or whatever. But it is kind of like it's a convenience thing. People have to schedule it, and it has to be something you get into a routine with. I do a live show every week myself, live audio only. And it doesn't get a huge amount of live listeners, but it gets a good, solid stable of people that come back every week. So, and they comment and they participate in the show itself. And there's a place for it, no question, in building a show.
Eileen says, you would not do this replace podcast. It's just another way to post some content on Twitter and maybe start up a conversation. I don't know. I go to Twitter to read text. I don't necessarily, to me, it's like, it's a stream. I can look at it. It's not something that I'm, oftentimes I can't play. You think about appropriateness.
Yeah, I mean, Facebook had to deal with this too, with the live video they were doing. They eventually had to create a pop-up, right? That would, if you scrolled through your wall, that video you were watching
it
would
moves
pop
over
up to the corner, right? And it would continue playing.
I don't know if the live video does that. The video uploads to that. I don't know about the live video. If you guys scroll off this page, does the live video? I think it does. Yeah.
But that's the key to making that work, because people like to scroll their walls and look at current posts, and
Rick says,
if they happen to be listening to something, then it might work.
Yeah, Rick says I could see a use for this as a way to promote a podcast episode. Well, that's probably true too.
Right.
So I guess any way you can promote is good, right?
Right. And if you can get somebody listening to your show while they're scrolling through their wall reading other posts, maybe there's a little bit of a use case for that. It's it's the same thing that Facebook is doing. Yeah.
So the folks on YouTube Live say use OBS and Periscope Producer to stream live on Twitter. Well, I have a TriCaster, so but OBS, for those folks, OBS is a great little live streaming platform. It's don't need too much hardware to run it. Someone says, any inside info regarding the Joe Budden podcast? I don't even know who that is.
Joe Budden?
Yeah, I've never heard of that.
There's a Joe Rogan, which sounds similar to that.
Oh, Joe Budden. I know what they're talking about. The Tesla. That's okay. That was cute. That was cute. The budding.
Budding of Elon Musk.
Yes. Yeah, Elon Musk
We didn't talk about that, did we?
No. I think that my team would. Of course, I'm a nerd. I'm a square. 25 years of having to piss on demand for drug testing. I've never partaked. Never. I've never smoked a joint. So I figured alcohol is a big enough deterrent to my health.
Right.
So I don't care if people do or don't. It's not my business. I'm not a prude. But it definitely got people talking. Their stock went down for a little bit because of it. So you can tell that some people didn't approve of him smoking weed on a show. But it's definitely a way to get some attention. I wonder what the downloads on that show were.
Yeah, I'm sure Joe was licking his chops on that one. It's like, Elon, keep smoking there, sir.
And I guess, does Joe Rogan smoke weed on his show on a regular basis?
I don't listen to a show on a regular basis.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you that. But
so I just wonder though, what the advertisers say. We'll have to look and see if their advertisers. Because everything's pretty progressive now. People aren't freaking out about people smoking weed as much as 10 years ago. If they'd been smoking weed on the show, he'd have probably lost every advertiser he had. But the perceptions have shifted, right?
Yeah, well, there's certainly a lot of states where it's legal now.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah.
Hey, well, Skype got the ability to record. Did you see this?
Oh, I haven't. I've heard about it, and I know there's some upgrades coming, and their NDI implementation is good. But that's cool. So some people are going to be able to record on Skype. That's nice.
Yeah. So Microsoft has been pushing updates to folks, and you're going to be able to record audio and video conference calls. It says here, let's see, you're going to be able to, let's see, someone shares their desktop screen during a call. That'll be included in the recording. Once you stop recording in the call or leave the group call, the recording will stop, and the final call recording will be posted on your behalf in the Skype chat in which the call took place. The Skype call recording will be available in your chat for 30 days. You can download and save the recording locally at any time during the 30 days, but it sounds like it'll go away after 30 days.
Oh, that's interesting. Also, here in the, I need to be watching YouTube chat more as well. I always seem to be paying attention mostly to Facebook chat, but earlier in the show, Matt says, same problem in radio. The smaller clients always eat up your time by being needy. And then Radio Inc. folks says, yeah, I was shaking my head yes when Todd was telling a story about smaller accounts. So I'm glad I'm not the only one that has that problem.
Right.
It's interesting. It's that same in radio. So I was able to scroll up, so ignore my comment in chat. Well, going back to Skype then, so, you continue to have people that are complaining about Skype and having trouble and losing recordings. I guess we've been lucky here, and I think for anyone that's listening, the key to the success, and, we've had dropouts, and like today we had some noise, but for the most part, about 95% of the time, we're pretty good on Skype.
Right. I don't have any big issues with Skype on a regular basis, and I use it all the time.
Yeah. But the key to the success of this show and using Skype is both Skype channels are on independent computers.
Right.
That's their sole job in life. They're a Mac Mini, and that's it. And you don't need a Mac Mini. You can run a Windows laptop or whatever.
Right.
And I take the audio out. I take straight out of the headphone out jack.
Right.
I run it through a line leveler because those are not matched ohm-wise, and it's a technical term, to the mixer, and I go right out of that into a standard input, and then I feed the mic in on the Mac Mini with a mix minus output so that Rob can hear me, I can hear him, and there isn't this crosstalk going on. So
right.
It's worked well for years. As a matter of fact, I get very nervous when I have to go down there and touch any cables. That stuff collects.
You might bump it the wrong way, right?
It collects dust. It gets very dirty down there.
Right.
So.
And it's the dust that holds it together, Todd. You can't disturb the dust.
When you get dust in here in Hawaii, is the red dirt. You know that when you touch the in jack and you come back with a little bit of red dirt on your hands, you know that you've got a good crust. Corrosion control around the plug.
That's right. Keeps that connection solid there, Todd.
But,
holds it together.
The Mac Mini on the bottom failed, and I had to replace it. So that one is actually a newer model than yours. So I've been holding out. I didn't want to buy another Mac Mini because I heard they're coming out with a Pro Edition. If they come up with a Pro Edition, then I can dual use some of this hardware. But but that Mac Mini was in there 7 years.
Yeah.
So You don't need new hardware.
Right. So anyway, this is a feature within Skype that many have been asking for many years. I know I tried to ask it of the Skype team when I was working for Microsoft because I kept hearing people complain, how do I record my whatever in Skype, and it's been an ongoing need in the market. Plus, I'm hearing more people with a desire to take listener callers more and more. But maybe it's because of the kind of platform that I'm on with Spreaker. That you get a lot more listeners, engaging with the show. It'd be cool if we could take, like one of our commenters in the thread here, and they could call into the show and join us for a couple minutes or something to talk about a topic. That would be kind of cool to have.
Yeah. We're getting a little tip tap again. I'm getting a feedback. What's going on? Huh? I don't have, it sounds like a phone, and I don't have a phone close to the mic. For those of you that use Wirecast, so this is something to think about too. So Skype has a version that has an NDI source. Right. And this is pretty remarkable. You don't need no cables. It's just purely IP based. I'll switch to that at some point, but as a matter of fact, the video that's Rob's screen and you guys are seeing right there, that's actually an IP video feed to the TriCaster. That's really not hardwired. That's not SDI. That's not HDMI. That's NDI. But at some point, I won't even need a converter box. I'll just turn Skype on. As long as it's on the same network, it will connect to the TriCaster or connect to Wirecast. Now, the only reason I haven't done it is because, Rob, I bring you in on another network. I bring you in another internet connection. You're on the slower pipe of the two, and then the TriCaster it's streaming to YouTube, is on the faster connection.
Sure. Well, that's because you're sending out to multiple distribution points. So.
Yeah. And when you're live, I don't stream to live stream because the live stream typically goes over your connection. So I have to, even though I've got 1,000 down, 20 up, or 30 up, even if I try to push to 3 sources at once, things get weird. So at some point, I probably have to employ one of those services where I push to one and they distribute to many. But I just haven't had to because trying to, it's dollars, to do that.
Right.
And right now, it's just the internet connection doesn't cost me any more than. But it's amazing the amount of gear I have in my drawer over here that I had to buy from years before. The number of black magic converters and all that stuff that's been purely eliminated because this camera is an NDI camera as well, and it's just got a LAN cable that plugs into my switch, and that's what it powers it and everything. I don't have a power cable, anything hooked to it. So, yeah, it's pretty cool, but all this stuff comes at a price. But Wirecast has made some good updates. I was looking at version 8 here this week and what they've done there. But OBS, another option for free. And I think OBS actually supports NDI too. So anyway, we gotten geeky here near the end.
Yeah, we did.
We did. Someone says, I think Zoom is better than Skype. I'll be honest with you. Thousands of interviews on this Skype connection, and I have not lost a recording because we've had sometimes some bad connections, but I've never lost a recording because of Skype. Skype could crash, and my recording is still good.
Yeah, well, that, and I think that the video quality is really, really good on Skype still. So I think that's what's important for us.
Yeah, a lot of podcasters don't do video; they just do audio. As a matter of fact, when Mike Dell and I do every other week we do your podcast, one of the shows that we do at powerpresspodcast.com is he just comes in audio only. And I keep finding myself looking because I can see you by just turning my head a little bit. I can't see the monitor, but I can see over here on this monitor. I keep turning myself to look at you or look at Mike, and he's not there. It's just a black screen. So for me, it's just a little weird.
Yeah. So Todd, how do you think Google Podcasts is doing in the market now? It's been a couple months.
I need to ask Angela to pull the data and see what we're seeing. Have you guys pulled any numbers?
I'm not seeing a lot of activity yet with what they're doing. And I know that they announced a new app that they were, kind of announced or leaked or
right. That
whatever it was.
Yeah,
that they're working on a new app. It does kind of feel like those guys are kind of like throwing stuff against the wall.
But just remember, Rob, when we introduced Subscribe on Android, it took
a long time.
It took us a couple of years to start seeing shows,
right?
To make a dent, and you would hope that they're over there watching it and seeing what's going on. And now I got this light coming in through the window. It's that time of year where the Earth has shifted just enough where it gets me at this time of the show. I've only got about 6 minutes left, so I apologize for the brightness. Maybe I'll put you on the screen, Rob. I think, it took us a number of years to see in it. Now we see people that have been using Subscribe on Android for 2-3 years. We see, a good spread, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12% difference between those that do and those that don't. And I'm still, I responded to a Twitter thread the other day where a guy said, "Oh, I just found this. This is wonderful." And so I kind of like, yeah, we gave this podcasting community about 4 years ago, but the rest of the hosting providers have snubbed it because it came from Blueberry.
Oh, okay.
So a little dig there, Rob. You guys snubbed Subscribe on Android.
That was a little jab. Thank you, sir.
Little jab.
Thank you, sir.
Stick the knife in, lean in.
I did recommend that we need to support you in your efforts. Well,
it's not my efforts.
Make sure that you're well supported on your existence in this world.
It's not you're supporting me. We're supporting the podcasters.
Android, I know you.
We gave this to the community.
I'm giving you a hard time. Yeah, so some of the numbers that I'm hearing or seeing come out about Google Podcasts adoption, and this was like more in the kind of in the July timeframe or whatever. July, it was very early and rolling out. It looks like for most platforms, even like Libsyn or whatever, it's around 1% of all downloads they're seeing off of Google Podcasts.
Well, that's still good.
It's okay. It's still kind of early. Others are showing less than 1%. But actually, most of the other ones are showing less than 1%. Maybe it's down as low as maybe like 0.5%. And Google Podcast doesn't auto download either, so that will also hurt it when it comes to getting the full exposure that most podcast listening apps have.
Fundamentally, we know why.
Right.
Fundamentally, It's not a native app on Android.
Right.
Until it's a native app on Android and delivered with the operating system that makes the OEMs take it. Until then, it's our jobs to promote Android and how to subscribe.
Yeah.
And this is a big thing now, when I'm going around and talking with podcasters, the first thing I ask them says, "Are you promoting Android on your show?" And if they say no, I break out my Samsung Galaxy S8. I said, "Have you seen this?" And I just have them, and I have New Media Show and Geek News Central as two. I don't know, what do you call those? Audience, help me. Icons, app buttons. What is the actual token name for a button that's the launching? Is there a specific?
I think it would be app icon.
The app icon. So I show the app icon, I click on it, and it loads, and their eyes get big. Whoa. They say, "How did you do that?" And I'm like, "Okay, let me show you." And
it's really not that hard.
It's not hard, but until they see it, they don't get it.
Right, exactly. Which is what I mentioned in last week's show about most podcasters are on iOS.
Right.
So they're not going to see it until Google makes that visible in iOS somehow.
So, in all honesty, if you want your show to grow, go out and buy a cheap Android tablet.
Right.
I bought all my team members have Android tablets now, every one of them, so that they know how this, because I've got a mixed house too. I've got some guys on Android, some of the team on iOS, back and forth.
Yeah. And more podcasts need to put the Google Podcast badge on their website. Mention it, right? Just the basics. We get back to the basics.
Yeah.
It does, it is about the basics,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
People in this industry get very focused on iOS, right? And Apple, and now Spotify, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of Android users that are not listening to podcasts yet.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But Google can help us with this, and as someone said here in the chat, we should have Zach back on. And maybe we should reach out to Zach, see if he's willing to come back on the show. But I'm hoping that, the end point, the end goal, let me see if I can bring this up on, the end goal, for those of you watching, is I'm on google.com. The end goal says all videos, image, news, shopping, more. If we could just get audio stuck in between videos and images, winner, chicken dinner. I mean, that would be the place that there would be, that's where they can make an impact. But I can only imagine the political discussion going on within Google to make that happen. That's
right.
It's
about priorities. It's about priorities.
Well, if they put that on there, you'll know they're serious. And if they don't, then maybe there won't be as much impact as they thought. But they're talking big. They talk big. They want to double the space or triple the space.
Right.
So that's going to take the Google muscle, a little bit more muscle to start promoting, and helping use the 8,000-pound gorilla here. I
don't see any kind of really aggressive approach in the market at all from Google right now.
No, I don't.
So even from a community standpoint, I think most of their efforts that we've seen up to this point have been, Zach coming on this show and the kind of keynote panel thing that they did at Podcast Movement. And other than that, that's basically been what they've done, right?
Yeah.
So it needs to get beyond this a little bit.
And I guess podcasters just need to continue to remember that, 50% of their audience is not on iOS. So
right.
I did, or I am going to make the jump. I'm going to buy the iOS 10s Max. So I'm going to get.
Oh, you are going to get that gigantic thing.
Yes, it's not. I'm already on a 7 Plus. The size is not different. So
is it, what, 6.4?
They just,
I think is the size.
But they just use more of the screen. So I'm. Yeah,
it's not physically.
I don't think it's physically much bigger. So, for me, it's just more glass. And it's famous in my prior life. We always had this saying in the office. It was more glass is better, So,
right.
You think about our screens and everything, of course.
Yeah. $1,000 phone.
In the configuration I'm going to get, I think $11.99.
Wow. So you're getting the one that has the massive amount of storage in it, right?
I'm going to go with 256, yeah.
256, yeah.
I won't go to 512. I don't need 512.
It is a lot of storage for a phone. I think that's the direction we're going. I was really impressed by the Apple Watch.
Oh, that, matter of fact, I was promoting internally here with my kids. I was like, and the sun is getting really bright. I apologize every once in a while. I was telling my kids, hey, I've got a Series 3 for sale. Anybody want to buy my Series 3?
Todd with his hand-me-downs.
Well, and what's stupid, I haven't had the Series 3 that long. My wife wanted a Series 3 earlier in the year.
Right.
And I was on a Series 2, and I wasn't even thinking. I'm like, yeah, we'll just both get Series 3. And we bought 2. And then I'm like kicking myself because because I already sold the Series 2, and one of them already bought the Series 1. So I've got a kid walking with a Series 1, one walking with a Series 2. Now I got a Series 3, and I don't think I've got a buyer, so I'm probably going to put it on eBay and price it to sell.
Right. And then get the new one? Is that what you're going to get?
Oh, that 4. I have to. Luckily, Raw Voice buys my iPhone, but I'll have to buy my own
watch.
Yeah, but that ECG, the ability with that new face. I don't know if the face is going to be bigger on. We'll have to wait until the update comes out.
Well, it's 32% bigger screen.
Yeah.
35%. I guess there's 2 models, but
so
yeah.
And all the new health features. Let's think about this from a old dude perspective.
You're not supposed to say that word on here.
Okay, so I'm closer to 60 than I am to 20. Let's put it that way. So, but
it's all right, Todd. We won't hold it against.
Let's be practical though, and I know we're late here, but ladies and gentlemen, you go to if you have anybody that's elderly, you go and if someone is in a care home, you go into a care home and it's full of women. The guys are all dead. I'm not kidding you. It's like 90% women, 10% guys. You go to any care home in America, it's the guys are dead and buried.
Right.
So how are we dying? We stroke out. We have heart attacks. It's just women live longer. Right. So with this with these features coming into the Apple Watch, if I'm having some sort of arrhythmia or something that's going on, as these phones watches get smarter, they could actually save lives and extend life expectancy.
Right.
If we pay attention. You still have to.
I just wonder where this is all going. I mean, you see what's happening to the phones. They're getting bigger and more powerful. The watches are getting a little bigger and more powerful. Are we going to see? Do you think we're going to see a time where the watch kind of replaces the need for a phone?
No way. Never.
No.
Never. It's a health. I don't know how everyone else is using their Apple Watch for, but I use it for health in the gym. I use it. I'm sitting here and it'll tell me if my heartbeat's got up. I'll get up and walk around. I use it for my fitness tracking. Yeah, I'll look at it when I'm getting a message, or if I'm in the gym and I want to listen to Apple Music or whatever, I'll use that instead of the phone. But
Todd, what if this becomes your large screen interface?
Good luck. We'll see what happens in 10 years.
Right?
Yeah.
So you combine that with a very powerful watch, and you're not needing a phone anymore.
But no one likes to wear glasses. Everyone wears contacts.
But everybody does.
I wear glasses specifically because I'm weak. I can't stick stuff in my eyeballs. I just can't do contacts. I've tried it.
Yeah.
I hate it.
I don't like it either.
So just and I don't like snakes either. So I think there's a correlation there. Eyeballs are slimy and snakes are slimy. It's no, thank you.
It's just a phobia, right?
It is. It's a phobia.
Some people, are just terrified of clowns too, right?
I don't know if that translates to wearing contacts, but. And I'm not a LASIK candidate. If I was a LASIK candidate, I would be in and I would pay the money in a heartbeat.
Right.
To get that done, $6,000 or whatever it is to cost to get LASIK or PKG or whatever these new procedures are.
All right. Well.
Yeah. Anyway, we're talking health, but I think the Apple Watch. I'm more excited about the Apple Watch than I am about the phone.
Yeah, and now the Apple Watch makes a direct connection too, right?
Right.
So you don't even have to have your phone with you to use the watch.
Yep. It always surprises me when my watch rings. That always weirds me out a little bit. Huh?
Dick Tracy.
True. And usually what I'm doing is I usually be like, and I feel so weird. I'll have to call you back, and I talk real low. I'm on my phone. I can't hear you because I don't have my earbuds in. I'll call you back. Click. That's what I do with the responses on the phone.
Right.
All right, everybody. Love to hear your feedback. I guess we're here next week. I'm here. You're here?
So far, yeah.
Okay.
I'll let you know.
All right, unless something changes.
Right. So
big week coming up, obviously, but everyone keep cranking out content, doing that marketing. And we'll see, maybe we can get James on again, but if they haven't announced anything, maybe there's nothing really to talk about, but we don't want to get him on here and badger him and says, you're not at 1% yet.
Well, actually, my next target for trying to get on the show would be the fellow from Spotify.
Oh.
But I did invite a couple of other people that might be interesting guests as well.
All right.
So we shall see.
Everyone, continue to feed us gossip. And we knew about some moves and personnel before it become public knowledge. So keep feeding us. Those of you on the East Coast that have the heartbeat of what's going on in New York City, and those of you that are embedded in different places, be our eyes and ears and feed us what you can. And we don't want you to get fired. We'll keep your information confidential.
That's right, and we'll get it out to the industry if it's something that the industry needs to know about.
Yeah. We are your way to get stuff on the street. So anyway, thanks for listening. I'm Todd at blueberry.com or at Geek News on Twitter.
I'm also at Rob Greenlee on Twitter, and then Rob at Spreaker.com this week. So,
and don't forget that International Podcast Day is coming on September 30th. Going to be a whole host of stuff going on around International Podcast Day. So it starts on the 29th, wraps up on the 30th. Again, internationalpodcastday.com. So
and your business tax returns are due on Monday. If you had an extension.
Oh, okay. Did you have an extension, Rob?
Of course.
I'm kind of anal about that. I've been through too many IRS audits. My stuff gets in on time. I don't want to get.
Oh no, it's going to be in on time.
Oh yeah, you filed your
off of an extension. That's right. And then October 15th is if you filed an extension, you got to file your personal taxes, your 1040 too. So just a little,
Rob, there's this cool thing. There's these cool people that go to school. They're called CPAs. They're amazing.
I don't know about the term. They're cool people. I'm not sure that necessarily.
When it comes to the IRS,
people, but they're not cool.
No, when it comes to the IRS and making sure that you're doing what you're supposed to do, CPAs, in my opinion, are cool.
My dad is an accountant, and he does that profession. I know Dan Franks is a CPA. He does that stuff too.
Yeah.
The founder of Podcast Movement. He's not doing it anymore, from what I gather. I'm sure he runs a tight ship over at Podcast Movement, though. I'm sure.
Yeah. One thing's for sure, though, you want to pick an accountant that's conservative in nature, is not in politics, but conservative in bookkeeping.
Right. Is cares about the details.
He cares about the details and cares that he questions anything that's, when you have your accountant questioning you deeply, then you know that he cares that you don't have to lug a suitcase full of paperwork down to somebody that's going to be looking into your life with the power to make your life hell. So,
right.
Anyway, we've digressed. Todd at blueberry.com. Everyone, thanks for being here. Get subscribed to the show. Thank you for listening. We'll be back with you, we think, next Saturday, same time,
yes.
9 a.m. Pacific is when we go live. For those of you who are curious, we'll see you next time. And everyone that's been with us today, adding to the chat room, thank you, Elsie, Eileen, the folks on YouTube, and et cetera. Thank you so much. Everyone, take care.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
Bye. We got to push the right buttons to take us off the air. There we go.